Awesome. Well, hi, Sloan. How you doing today?
I'm doing good, man. How you doing?
Doing great. Yeah. So, thanks for joining the Post AI podcast to anybody who's here. So, I'm Cameron. This is Sloan, and we are recording a little bit of an unusual episode today. So, Sloan, tell us where you are.
So I'm at Sundance over in Utah, Park City. I just took a little bit of break and actually got a chance to shoot this episode with you.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I'm also traveling, so I'm in Washington D.C. I'm working on some stuff at the NASA headquarters here. So yeah, pretty cool.
I'm sure
It sounds
important
important.
what you're doing, right?
I'm not allowed to say anything. Yeah. Yeah. No, but it's kind of fun to have a traveling episode at the exact same time. It worked out really great that we,
Yeah.
one of us remote and one of us home. We're both remote and we're both doing cool stuff. So what are you doing at Sundance? You can talk about that, I think, a little more than I can talk.
Yeah. A lot of it is networking. I've been going to a lot of industry meetups.
Yeah.
Meeting producers, meeting DPs, directors. I went to a couple of summits. And obviously, I watched some films. And then I think probably the most fun thing is actually skiing. So like I've been skiing as much as I can.
Solid. That is so awesome. I love skiing. Yeah, that is fantastic. Well, and for those who don't know, so we are very, very interested in AI, and we are in fields that are going to be tremendously affected by AI. So I'm in the development field, so code writing, software development, web development, all that sort of thing. And Sloan, you're in video production and all of that sort of thing. So we're really thinking about artificial intelligence from multiple different lenses, but certainly the way it affects our careers is significant to us. And we're not really going to take all the changes lying down, right? Like Yeah.
It's kind of funny, Cameron. I'm formulating what to tell my family, my extended family, because a lot of them are in white collar positions, and I know within the next week I've got to actually just kind of like sit them down and tell them what's coming out, to give them a heads up. So like I'm in that headspace. Just every day I'm just hearing more and more and seeing what this thing's capable of.
Yeah,
it's coming, man.
It is. Yeah. And I think what I'm processing through, and I'm really glad you're processing through this too, is what is that conversation? Because when I've had that conversation with people, it tends to be this like chicken little, the sky is falling type of conversation, where I'm basically like, it's going to take over everything. It's going to change everything. Every job is going to be automated. Like, and I'm trying to figure out like, what are the action steps I can give someone that are actually, tangible, that help them to feel less overwhelmed. Right.
Yeah.
Do you have like bullet points for that yet? Or like, what's your...
No, that's what I'm trying to formulate.
Yeah.
Probably for me, the biggest thing, and this is why we're doing this podcast, is there's a tsunami coming and you're either going to be stuck in that wave or you're going to be crushed by it. So I think the more people can be enhanced by AI and find the tools that are going to make them 10, 15, 100 times more productive,
right?
The sooner they can do that, the sooner they're going to be able to actually ride this wave. At least that's what I hope, unless the whole thing comes crashing down.
Right. Well, and I think there's always like, in everything, there's always some level of... societal stuff that is going to suck, and there's also like a circle of influence that you can control, right? And I've found like I get so much happier, like when I start focusing on this societal stuff, I start getting depressed, right? Because the reality is, like, I hear a lot of people complain about society and how terrible society is, and all this unfairness, and when that is really, disheartening. It's very, it brings you down. And if you really want to work on changing those things, you have a whole fight in front of you, right? You got to be a Martin Luther King type of person and like push hard, and then the next generation will be able to reap the benefits of that, right? And like, I actually want to do some of that work on the AI front in terms of like ethics and bringing awareness to it and bringing democracy to it and making it, you know, a more open platform and environment. But that's not work that everybody can do. And so when I focus on like what I can do within my circle, instead of focusing on these big societal issues, and I'm like, I can make my brother's life better. I can make my mom's life better. I can make my wife's life better. I can make my son's life better. That is really, that dramatically changes my happiness level. And, you know, it changes everything for me.
Yeah, I think that's a smart move. And to definitely, most people are not thinking or have the capacity or the technological understanding, like in our families, of what it is that they need to do to take advantage of what's coming up and tools that are coming up. And so, yeah, I think the job is really the local job of like, what can we do to inform our families? We do that first, and then hopefully that'll help us inform other people what else they can do.
You know, and what I've been thinking about too is actually the bar of getting involved might be lower, you know, which is a little surprising to me because, you know, with the whole, the changing of the world with technology coming in, right? Like my first work on websites, I was putting them on floppy disks, right? Like, and I was storing megabytes of information on these floppy disks, and now it's totally changed. And so people have asked me like, how do I become successful like you in this field and stuff like that? I'm like, well, you should learn all this stuff, right? You want to learn HTML and CSS, and you want to eventually, you know, learn NPM and Gulp, and you want to head down the path of learning Python and getting machine learning and all that stuff, right? And it's not as hard, I think, with like something like ChatGPT, right? Like makes it a very open and simple thing to get involved with. You jump in, you type some prompts, you look up prompts online, and you can, you know, use different prompts and stuff like that. It's the bar of entry is a little lower, I think, which is kind of nice.
Yeah, that's actually where I think the hope is in all of this, is that we're gonna have people who were not software developers or not into tech be able to take the expertise in their field and create platforms and create tools that nobody had thought about before. And so I mean, I do think like the hope will be an exponential growth in all these different sectors. I mean, you know, currently we're talking about what that can look like in the post world for video and for movies. And so I think there's going to be tons and tons of new applications and new things found by normal people.
Yeah.
Because of how easy the entry is into this.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think it's analogous in some ways to like if you look at TikTok or something like that, where there's like creators who are in very small niches, you know, they're basically like, there's this one guy who just makes old recipes. He finds recipes from like 1920 and 1950, and I think it's called Dylan's Kitchen or something like that. But I'm like, wow, that is a niche, right? And I don't know if he's doing well, but I think it's super cool that like, that was not a job that was available before. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, that wasn't even close to something that was available as a job opportunity. And it's like that for every niche, right? I don't know if you ran the numbers, like would everybody have the opportunity, or would a large percentage of people, 10%, have the ability to be creators like that? I don't know. What's going to happen with the empowerment of AI? I don't know, right? Like, how many opportunities like that are there going to be?
That's actually, it'll be interesting because I feel like when I've been working with ChatGPT, I keep finding myself being the limit of what this thing is capable of. And so I have to like, I'm retraining my brain into like being completely, taking the brakes off in order to see what can this thing do. And I haven't been stumped yet, except for math. It doesn't do math well, but it's all this other stuff. It's behaving. It keeps surprising me what it can do.
Yeah.
And I think the people who are going to be able to take advantage will be the people who can think for themselves and think in a creative way. Like I honestly think going forward through this AI sea change, the people who will survive or will do well are the people who have a ton of creativity and can think conceptually, can think abstractly, and create something new.
Yeah. Well, I had that conversation with somebody the other day who was talking about like, how do I get into the tech field and stuff like that. And I was basically saying, you know, what I look for in somebody, if I'm going to hire them, I am not looking for somebody who's like, oh yeah, show me how to do this one time and I'm good to go from there. That would be great. But but I'm looking for somebody who, if I've showed them 0 times, they can take that goal and they can say, okay, I'm going to find a way to get there. I'm going to Google it. I'm going to call support desks. I'm going to, you know, reach out to other people who might know. I'm going to hire a freelancer on Upwork, you know, with the company's money or whatever, you know, some sort of way of getting to the endpoint in a sort of roundabout way is really what I'm looking for.
I think that's actually a smart test, because I listened to Seth Godin. He's just an amazing thought leader.
Yep.
And he was saying when he was, this is when he was working with Yahoo, way in the beginning.
Oh, yeah.
To hire a team, what he did was he would get people to come in and audition, and he would put them into little groups, and he would give them them tasks. Now, this is before the internet's really, so like they couldn't just Google something.
Right.
And he would say, how many subway stations are there in New York City? And then he would just sit back and watch. And he said inevitably there'd be 2 people who'd be like, I'm taking notes. And then there'd be other people who are like, I just quiet, don't do anything. And then always be that one or 2 people who are abstractly trying to figure out what to do. Like they're phoning their friends. And those are the people that he hired for his position. So very similar to what you were saying. It's a smart strategy.
It worked out for him. He did very well at Yahoo and everywhere else he was at. Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, and I think that's if we have a call to action, that's the call to action, right? It's the whole concept of like learning how to learn instead of learning, right?
Yeah.
Learning how to create. Yeah.
You don't need to remember anything anymore. You just need to be able to know how to connect dots, and then that's it. Like I think the kind of intelligence that's going to work going forward will be people who can connect very different abstract ideas, because the power to create something new is going to be in our head.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Well, and I think the whole concept of like abstract conceptual work is going to be, it's going to be taken to a whole new level, but I do think there's going to be a lot of room for detail-oriented people, or people who want to, I don't think it's going to be the same, right? We're not going to be looking for people who know how to write exactly this line of Python, right? That's pretty much going to be taken care of, but the abstract concepts that are useful, and a lot of the layering and stuff like that, like, okay, well, so now this movie has been made and it was auto-generated with, 15th century costumes, but we really want it to look a little different because we want it to match the color palette that we're trying to do, because we're doing something new that we're excited about, so we're going to throw prompts into the generator. Stuff like that. I don't know exactly what those examples are going to be like, but it could be really cool. So,
yeah. I mean, you were talking about, how ChatGPT is great at writing code, but it doesn't think about like the security or some of the efficiencies that you were talking about. So there's always going to be somebody who's going to need to actually like double check that this thing is actually thinking through all of the scenarios.
Yeah, it writes pretty average code, right? Like it doesn't write really great abstracted code, or anything like that. It doesn't have a lot of the organizational methodologies. Now, I'm sure that's something that's going to be prompted into it. People are going to be putting that into it. People are going to be, trying to implement that in lots of different ways, and that'll be great. But that really does lead to another kind of job, right? Like, kind of manning the AIs to make sure that they are outputting good content and stuff like that. I heard some statistic. I don't know if this is a real statistic or not, but it was something like we are 11 times more productive now than we were 200 years ago, but we work like 50% more or like 200% more or something like that, right? So we're 11 times more productive because of these tools that we have. And I would say we're way more productive than that, right? Because if you think about like what we can output using factories and things like that, you can tremendously increase your productivity and your output. But the amount of things we have to do, like now I have hundreds of emails a day that are always sitting there. I didn't know email. If I was living in the early 1900s, I wouldn't even be aware that email would be a task.
Yeah.
So,
and it's there's a lot of wasted productivity, which is actually where also I think the hope can come in is where we can fashion our own versions of ourselves. In a sense, it's an AI, it's a virtual Cameron, virtual Sloan that'll actually take care of a lot of the mundane stuff for us. Right. We'll be able to auto reply, and then send it up the ladder when it thinks, I need some intervention here.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting. I wonder quite when that's going to come online.
Yeah. There's versions of it and stuff like that. I've been trying a few different like email acceleration platforms and stuff like that. I mean, I've been using Superhuman a little bit, and it's fine, but it's mostly like keyboard shortcuts for navigating email. And and I'm looking at some of these like auto reply type of they'll try to draft you an email using an AI and stuff like that. I really need to test some of those out because that would actually free me a lot, right? Like I would rather if I spent 50% less time on email, I could spend that with my wife. I could spend that working on other projects, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah. Well, I use Grammarly right now.
Yeah.
And what's amazing about it is it can detect the tone. So I'll bang out an email that'll correct my grammar, which is great. And then it can say, hey, or maybe I said this already on the last podcast, but are you sure you want to sound like this? Like, and then they're like, oh yeah, I do not. I don't want to sound terse. Like let's soften it a little bit, Yeah. And so I think it's just only going to get better as potentially it can learn how you respond to emails, and then start to just like generate responses as you.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, and I think that's ultimately what I'm excited about for AI. Just this. I think there's an increased responsibility though. Like as we move towards any sort of situation where we are, automating things out of our lives and we have more available free time, the responsibility to fill that free time with good and productive things is always higher, right? So,
and I think what happens inevitably is we just make ourselves more busy.
Yeah, right.
We just take on more work, when we become more efficient, we don't slow down. Yeah.
Can I put you on the spot?
Yep. Go ahead, man.
Great. Okay. So if you had to today have that conversation with your, with your family about AI coming, and obviously you've been mentally rehearsing this a little bit. We'll give you a chance to demo it right now. You want to give us like the 1 minute version?
Sure. I'll try. So, firstly, they don't know anything about AI.
Like, sure. Yeah. So pretend I'm your in-law or whoever it happens to be, and like I don't know anything about AI. I don't know this is about to hit me, and I need to know.
Great. So I'm gonna say, all right, guys. So, what I want you to know is I've been researching this space for years. I've been keeping track of it, and I always thought it was probably about 5 or 10 years out. What I've been seeing, but I've been playing with it, and basically new developments like this ChatGPT popped out of the woodwork in December last year, and it took the timeline that I have of like 5-10 years and put it here right now. And what I want you guys to understand is that this AI is basically a college level intelligence. It can understand English, it can understand anything you write at it, and it can give you back answers, just like a college level, like human. And so, this new technology is kind of it's so profoundly sea changing that people are going to see from the world will be remembered from 2022 December, before then, and then after 2022 December when ChatGPT came online. And so right now we're in a post AI world. That's hence our name. And so what I want you guys, my family, who I'm saying this to, what I want you to understand is that this is coming after anything in the white collar work field. So if you're sitting at your job and you're typing stuff into your computer, you can be replaced, and you will be replaced. And it's not going to take like 10-15 years like the microchip did and the internet did. Like, this is going to happen now, and it's scalable. It's so fast, so scalable that like it's going to take over things right like so fast you won't even understand what's happening. And so what I want to really pitch to you guys, my family, is I need you guys to start paying attention and seeing what tools can you use to make your job, the tools that are coming online quickly, what tools can you make use of in your job so that you become a AI expert in your field. So if you're in marketing, or if you're in admin, it's like, what can you do to show your bosses that you are the one who knows what the heck you are doing with that AI, so you are not replaceable. So what you need to do is position yourself as the person who will implement the AI in your business as the expert in your field. And so that's the broad pitch, and hopefully, I don't know if that made much sense, Cameron.
I think so. Yeah, I think the call to action is you're not going to be a puppet replaced by another puppet. You're going to be the puppet master, and AI is going to be your puppet. Yeah.
Yep. And if you, because what I see is okay. So say just a simple job like an admin person, right? Mm-hmm. The deal with AI is that AI never needs to sleep, and as you scale your company, you could just turn on like another assistant, and then another assistant, and another assistant. You're not paying medical insurance, you're not paying anything. You could scale to, you could just replace every single person in the department, within minutes once this thing comes online.
Yeah. Well, and that's what we were talking about. We talked about this in the last podcast, the whole idea of like a normal company structure, 1,500 people doing the work or whatever. Oftentimes, if it's factory work, they're in the factory or whatever. Then maybe you've got like, and this is totally an example, 300 people doing sort of, white collar work. Then you've got, maybe 25 people doing upper management work. Then you've got 2 or 3 partners at the top. And the thought has been that those people at the bottom are going to get replaced, the manual laborers and stuff like that. But basically in a nanosecond, instantly ChatGPT came in. The GPT model came in and showed that we can wipe out a lot of this white collar work. If you're, just like writing SEO content, or you're, doing sort of repeatable tasks that previously were thought to be impossible to automate, that's going to happen. And it might wipe out that middle layer, and have it kind of collapse from the top and bottom. Yeah. Which is very surprising. That's just not what we were expecting to happen.
Now, even in the creative space, definitely was taken by surprise at how amazing I mean, they are not good writers like ChatGPT. I don't think it's going to be a great writer. Because one thing it can't ever do, it's not a human that cannot understand subtext. But it can replace anything that's just good. And most of the world is filled with good stuff, or below good. And all that stuff is going to be gone.
Yeah. Well, and that's like, I've used it quite a bit lately for writing like proposals and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
Now, what I find is that I'm like, I do this initial kind of put together, and I'll have ChatGPT help out. But most of the time, it does not create that kind of nuance that really speaks to that specific company, to that specific person. It really creates evocative imagery that is really locked into what that organization needs, that I know because I've interfaced with their people. And now I think at some point it will be able to do that, right? I don't think we're talking about something that's impossible for the language models to figure out.
Yeah. I think it's gonna be able to do good enough job where you will not be sure if it will take somebody who's really good at understanding story and good at understanding literature to be like, oh yeah, this is missing subtext, or this is missing like this key component.
Right. Yeah.
So everything that's good and average is going to be will be taken.
Yeah. And exceptional, I think exceptional or exceptionally unique too will be left.
Yeah.
So,
and potentially what this is what I see is going to happen is the exceptional people are going to become even more exceptional by using AI. You know, and we're going to see these just meteoric rises of like new voices and new ideas, because they're not going to be constrained by scale, which is I think a lot of people have been held back by, because they haven't been able. It takes a long time to build a company, or to build a staff, and to build all that kind of stuff. And now potentially we're going to be able to scale new ideas rapidly. And and I'm excited to see what I could do. I mean, I'm thinking that way for myself. Like, how can I take advantage of this to maybe implement some of the projects I've been thinking about for years.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, why don't we start back? So, editor, please cut this stuff out.
That's great.
Why don't we jump into the news? Like, just so people can understand, why are we so excited? Like, what's going on right now?
Yeah, so there's been a lot of different stuff happening with artificial intelligence, and a couple things that are particularly of interest. This was actually super recent. You saw the chatbot who basically passed exams at a U.S. law school. So that's pretty bizarre. So it was ChatGPT, and essentially that was so Jonathan Choi is a professor at Minnesota University Law School, and he gave ChatGPT the same test faced by students. It had 95 multiple choice questions, 12 essay questions, and he published a white paper on Monday called ChatGPT Goes to Law School, and basically it got a C+. So, like you were saying earlier, interestingly enough, it was near the bottom of the class in most subjects, and it did bomb a multiple choice question set of questions involving math. Yep.
Well, what's interesting is there's an Intel. I think it's an Intel engineer. I may be off. Maybe it's IBM or Intel. He created a free tool that combines Wolfram Auto. I think that's with ChatGPT. So, it's a free available to use like plugin, and basically you can power ChatGPT with Wolfram Auto, which is an amazing mathematical tool. And so that's what that engineer was saying, is that potentially down the line you're going to have models that are super good at certain tasks interfacing with certain AI. So potentially like you got your language model that then plugs into a statistical unit or like a mathematical unit or an astrophysical like AI, and all of them will be able to communicate together and actually get you like higher, like way better result.
So it's like you have the language engine or the AI, and then you have the library that you are plugging into it. Yeah, fascinating. Well, in library development, I mean, that could be a whole career path unto itself, right?
Well, that's actually, I think, where the opportunity lies, is building data sets that are specific to the industries you're in, that can be used to fine-tune models or create your own AI models. That is where the gold mine is going to be.
That's and that's going to be a massive amount of work, right? Like if we're looking at something that is going to occupy a lot of human time, I would put money on that, right? As just like, it's going to take a long time to test all the possibilities and eventualities and double check everything and get the initial data sets right. That's really
it could be a whole industry just in building data sets for AI.
Yeah.
Or using AI to help you build data sets for AI.
So I've got another piece of news here.
Before you go,
go ahead.
One thing that's super interesting about that article is I think I read that article. I heard about it too, and it made me think. It's like, man, you know what's pretty cool is potentially I could take some of like read contracts in work, plug them into ChatGPT, and see, like, let it summarize what the heck this is saying, and ask it what should I be looking for? Yeah, are there any gotcha clauses in this thing? You want to create a lease in Florida. Perhaps you've got an Airbnb in Florida and you want to create a lease. You could just say, please create like a short-term lease for Florida in this area for 2 years. And ChatGPT already has read all of the law documents in Florida and understands how to create a lease for Florida. So like, I don't think it's going to replace lawyers quite yet, but I think potentially it's going to save us a heck of a lot of time, like in lawyers' fees, because we could pre-build like a contract and then send it to the lawyer and say, does this check out?
Yeah. Well, and that's great. I mean, my law firm is like $450 an hour.
Sometimes
they'll pull in 2 or 3 lawyers to talk about stuff. Do we have to? Well, and you bring up a really interesting point there, because I was just thinking about how I read somewhere, and this may be a false stat, it might just be a meme, that if you were to read all the terms and conditions that you actually sign, it would take you 7 years of your life. For the average person's terms. And I believe that because they are enormously long and super detailed. And you also, even if you read them, you wouldn't necessarily understand them. But imagine like if you have an AI that kind of can defend you, and up comes the new terms and conditions from Apple, and you just go, is this okay for me based on the parameters I've told you already? Oh, then it is. Okay, great. Then I'll sign up for it. Thanks.
And it probably will be even better than a lawyer.
Right. Exactly.
There's actually, I just heard about it last week. It's called Do Not Pay. It's a website that uses AI to like get you out of pocket tickets, get you out of subscription fees, and all that kind of stuff. It's really interesting.
And actually so if you remember, I think we talked about this one last time, but we had, we were talking about a robot that was scheduled to argue in court. Okay. Yeah. So basically there was going to be a legal representation. So basically I believe it was Do Not Pay. So basically, Joshua Browder created Do Not Pay as a startup. And essentially what was going to happen is the first ever AI-powered legal defense was going to take place in California on February 22. So, not long from now, less than a month from now. But not anymore. So what ended up happening was multiple state bar associations actually threatened do not pay. One even said a referral to the district attorney's office and prosecution and prison time would be possible. So basically what was going to happen is this person challenging a speeding ticket was going to wear like these smart glasses that recorded court proceedings, and dictate responses into the defendant's ear from like a small speaker. And so the whole system was going to be powered by ChatGPT and DaVinci. So it was all the like leading text generators were going to be like feeding responses to be fed to the defendant. And that was basically, how the whole system was going to be set up. But because of the threats, he said even if it wouldn't happen, the threat of criminal charges was enough to give it up. The letters became so frequent that we thought it was just a distraction and we should move on. So
Wow.
Yeah, so that got shut down. I had
now.
for now, right? I mean, it's inevitable that it's going to happen again. But obviously, those lawyers, I think, are they're fearing for their jobs, right? They're fearing for exactly what I'm saying. Like instead of people like me who are at a pinch, paying them $450 an hour if I really need them, and I don't do that almost ever. Right. So that's great. But there are some people who are just, they spend a lot of time in court. They're spending a lot of money on it. And to almost wipe out that industry would be a really, really fascinating thing. And obviously, if you're a lawyer, that doesn't sound so good.
Yeah, I almost wonder if like lawyers will purely be on a like an in-court basis. That's where like the ones who are left will be the ones who will defend you in court. Assisted by an AI agent.
Well, because that's why the U.S., like in the U.S., you can't get convicted off of a traffic camera, right? You can't get convicted of something off a traffic camera because you have to be able to face your accuser in court, right? Mm-hmm. And that's written into our Constitution. So basically, like giving somebody a penalty based on a traffic camera is considered unconstitutional unless you also have a human witness. So who knows? Like in other countries, you can, right? In other countries, Netherlands, you go and you run a red light, you're getting a ticket in the mail.
Sound out, but get to it.
Yep. And I don't know how long that's going to be. Will that continue to be law in the U.S. and will that make things particularly unique in the U.S.? I don't know. So
it'd be interesting.
Yeah. So another piece of news here, and I think this is the big one. This is the one that I really think matters a lot. So Microsoft is basically looking at using ChatGPT, and they basically confirmed their plans super recently to invest literally billions of dollars in OpenAI.
10 billion.
10 billion, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's really interesting because I think there is also something built into their contract that they are going to get, 75% of profits for a period of time, right? Up to, I don't remember what the cap was on that, but...
I think it was like, I don't know if the initial thing with OpenAI was like 100-fold was the cap initially.
Okay.
Which is different now because I don't think it's a nonprofit anymore.
Yeah. Well, and that's one of the things that's really interesting. So it started out as a nonprofit model, right? And actually, Elon Musk was involved in that early on, right? And he ended up pulling out. And he said recently, like, OpenAI should be more open, right? And so the question of, what Microsoft is planning on doing, by the way, is, and you know this, but they are planning on basically incorporating ChatGPT into all of their products. So, the Bing search engine, we've used Google forever. And it's been the dominant search engine by I think it's 94% or 96% or something like that of users who use search engines use Google. And now if Bing has ChatGPT built in, I'm using Bing. I mean,
me too.
I'll switch tomorrow if they've got ChatGPT built in. Cool, let's go. So, and actually, I thought that it was pretty interesting seeing Google. I don't know if you saw their new format or whatever, where they're putting large, it's like large answers to your questions up at the top. They're like trying, yeah, it's really interesting. When I saw it, I was like, I don't know if this has been there, and I didn't think about it until now, or if this is a direct reaction to we're trying to do something similar to what ChatGPT is by like giving the information just like right there in a single paragraph, you know.
Yeah, that's it is interesting. I know Microsoft is I saw the Wall Street Journal interview with the CEO. I don't know what the guy's name is.
Sam Altman. Yeah.
Yeah, they're going all in on GPT-3, the large language models.
Yeah.
It actually gives me hope for Microsoft. I'm like, oh, maybe I'll switch to Microsoft at some point and get over Apple if Apple doesn't do the same thing.
Right. Yeah.
Because I also heard that this may be hearsay, but Bill Gates is reinvesting like $9 billion or something into Microsoft.
Wow.
Which I got to check that out. But that's a good signal that they are seeing things that we are not seeing.
Well, and they're seeing things we are seeing. You know, I mean, you and I dropped everything to start a podcast about AI for a reason. Why are we doing that right now? After, you know, ChatGPT was the, it's crazy. There's so many people who don't know about it, right? Like my wife was in New York recently and she said everybody knew about it and was using it, right? Now she's in a particular creative niche. She's a video producer, you know. She like does commercial films and stuff like that. So, so she's in that niche of people who, you know, are more likely to be current, and also in New York, you're more likely to be current. But, you know, in Grand Rapids, Michigan, which is where I am oftentimes, I talk about ChatGPT at a random dinner and I'm having to like get it out and show everybody how it works. And some people are like, this changes everything. And a lot of people are like, oh, that's neat. Very cool. I'm like, no.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of people dismiss it as a politic. Oh, it's kind of fun. I'm like, yeah, I tried it out a couple of times and it's a neat politic. And I'm like, guys,
yeah,
it's like, do you understand the ramifications of what this thing could be? Or is. It's already, I mean, it already is. You just have to plug in the right stuff into it and take advantage of it.
So let's go into opinion time on the Microsoft investment, right?
Yeah.
So I have concerns about it in many respects. Do you?
I mean, concerns. Yeah, because what Microsoft is doing, like what I was so pumped about with OpenAI was that it was an open project.
Right.
It was meant to help humanity access AI.
Yeah.
And now Microsoft is going to have it, and it grows from the user's use. So like it gets better as the user uses it. It's learning from users. So I almost feel like Microsoft is going to have this insane amount of input and data that it's generated, and it's going to have just a super, super powerful AI. And I pray that they don't take away the API for people like you and me to actually use and take advantage of OpenAI. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm probably the most worried about, is if they close the doors.
Yeah. Well, and I think what I am enthusiastic about is I think that, you know, Google is going to be slashing at their heels, right? They're developing something similar as fast as they possibly can. You know, the CEO issued a red alert basically and is like, we have to work on this at a tremendous pace. And so they've been working on it. I'm sure there will be other companies that try to play the game too. And the question is, it's kind of like, you know, whatever guy ran the 4-minute mile first, right? No one had ever done it. it was said to be impossible. Then he did it, and like the next year, a whole bunch of people did it. You know, I wonder if it's going to be like that with this. If it's going to be like that with artificial intelligence, where we have the language model. It's proven that the language model can work on a really functional level by OpenAI, and everybody else runs the 4-minute mile because it was proved that they could.
Yeah. I bet you it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
It's I mean, if they don't, they're like
Right.
they're gonna be lost. Actually, I think it's funny. Facebook has invested so much money into the metaverse,
Right.
when they could have been doing this. It's actually their pants might be cooled down.
They might be, yeah. And I was reading about a metaverse party recently that they spent like $400,000 on it. It was some city that did it or whatever. They were trying to like kind of get current and be in tune with the metaverse and stuff like that. It was like a metaverse beach party or something like that. They invited people to come to it. Apparently you strap on a headset and you can kind of join all these other people in the metaverse at the beach. Like $400,000 spent on this, which is a decent investment for an event. Five people stayed for any meaningful length of time, and basically one guy, after the first hour or whatever it was, one guy was left kind of hanging out and nobody was there. So the metaverse has been just like, it's just not been attended. Yeah, I think Zuckerberg is going to have a hard time with a lot of the changes that are coming if he's been spending all his working capital and all of his researching time on the metaverse. And, you know, we don't want the metaverse. We want ChatGPT. You know.
They'll probably just like fill the metaverse with a bunch of bots that are run on ChatGPT to make it look like it's actually like popular.
There you go. Wow. That'd be amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the move. Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
man.
I think what I am processing through on the side of Microsoft purchasing, I mean, there are caps to it, right? It's not like they're, like you said, they're capping at 100x profit or something like that,
Yeah.
100x investment, and like they're not going to own all of it or something like that. But as we know from history and personal experience and everything, the majority shareholder has the opportunity to pull the plug, and thus they have the opportunity to make huge decisions. They are able to really like push around the direction of the company. And so I am concerned. I think my biggest concern with AI is two things. One, either somebody monopolizes it to the point where we exacerbate the wealth inequality we already are having a problem with, right? Because tech has already exacerbated wealth inequality beyond where it should be. Two, somebody does something that screws everything up, like for the planet, right? Like accidentally or on purpose, somebody presses the wrong button on an AI and it turns the whole world into paper clips or something, right? I mean, there's a reason that ChatGPT is not connected to the internet.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, the thing is that I think even the creators are constantly surprised at what it can do. Like, like it just is doing things that were not anticipated. I mean,
right.
Like it being good at coding is one of those things. They didn't realize it would be great at coding.
Yeah, that's very good at coding. Yeah, it's very helpful. So,
I'm trying to think if there's any other news that I've seen.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the majority of the news headlines that I think are really, really useful and interesting. But I think, we're going to start seeing every week, we're going to start seeing more and more and more artificial intelligence news, right? This is going to go faster and faster and faster. And I think that the value of us documenting this and processing through it and bringing as much awareness as possible to it is going to increase dramatically as we move closer to, this dramatically post-AI world.
Yeah. It's gonna be a fun ride, man. It
is.
Glad to chat it through with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks everyone for joining the Post AI podcast. We are going to do this on a weekly basis, so make sure to subscribe on whatever platform you want to subscribe on. And we are really excited to be bringing you regular news. We're going to start getting some guests in here who can talk from a algorithm writing perspective, people who actually work on AIs on a regular basis, get some thought leaders in here, and we're determined to make this the number one podcast for being aware of what's going on with artificial intelligence. And all you have to do is hit subscribe and listen to the episodes. So thanks for being here. Yeah.
Cheers, man.
Cheers.